our very talented music director, Dwayne White. Thank you for that. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of New Orleans. We are a congregation that has gathered in love in various incarnations since 1833. Our goal is to seek wholeness and work for justice in the world. So, my name is Michael Martin. My pronouns are he and him, and we are glad you're here. If you are a visitor and you're feeling a bit courageous, could you please raise your hand so that we can properly greet you? So we are a lay-led congregation. We don't have a formal minister. On Sunday mornings, we ask other UU ministers, other religious professionals, leaders from social justice organizations, as well as our own members to be voices of hope, courage, and personal, emotional, or intellectual transformation, speaking from our pulpit. Our worship leader today is the Reverend Sara Green. Thank you for joining us today. All right. And please remain as you are as we light the chalice of our heritage. And if you would, actually, rise in body and spirit, right? Please rise in body and spirit as we light the chalice. We can say the words together in your order of service. It's under chalice lighting. We come to religious community from many paths and with diverse needs. If you have come here seeking comfort, may your pain be soothed. If you have come here looking for answers, may you find new questions. If you've come here seeking purpose, may your call be awakened. If you come here to build a new way, may the path open before you.
Our opening hymn, everybody, is a song that we've sung before, but it's not in our hymnals yet, we'll say. It's a call and response, except for the very last line. Now, the trick is that in your order of service, there's one line missing. So it's going to require you to be a little more awake. But the choir is here. They have done their due diligence and are ready to help us lead the way. We'll start slow, but then as the Spirit moves, then we'll pick it up a little bit. So just know that that may be coming. All right. Forget your perfect offering. Forget your perfect offering. Just ring the bells that still can ring. Just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light gets in. Forget your perfect offering. Forget your perfect offering. Just ring the bells that still can ring. Just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's how. A little faster. Forget your perfect offering. Just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's one more time. Forget your perfect offering. Just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light. That's how. That's how the light gets in. That's how. That's how. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light gets in.
That's wonderful. And now welcome Henry McCarthy for our Black History Month moment.
Yeah, you can, that looks great.
I have the pleasure of speaking to you today about a deceased member of our congregation named Oscar Flowers. He was an endearing person who left a legacy to the life of our church family. Here are some of my memories of him and a few descriptions of his life. I'll start by noting that Oscar always wore a suit, dress shirt, and tie to church. Thus, in this congregation with its very open dress code, he was both attractive and distinctive in his attire. Today, in Oscar's honor, I am dressed in Sunday best like he did. Oscar operated a shoe shine stand at the Fairgrounds racetrack on Gentilly Boulevard. Through that work, he learned a lot about interacting with all types of people in New Orleans, including some bigwigs who went there to bet on the horse races. Among the many people he met there was the Reverend Albert Orlando, who was minister of our First Church from 1950 to 1981. Through their friendship, Albert hired Oscar as our church custodian. After some time of attending services, Oscar asked to become a member of our church, and Reverend Orlando welcomed him. My wonderful wife, Evelyn, and I met Oscar when we moved to New Orleans in 1985 and joined the church. He was a rather quiet but friendly man. We often spoke with him during coffee hour. He was in his mid-80s at that time. He did not own a car, and he took public transportation all around town. A fellow member asked us if we would be willing to drive Oscar to the service on Sundays. Of course, we agreed. Thus, we really got to know Oscar from picking him up for church most Sundays for several years at his apartment in the gusty high-rise residence for low-income elderly and disabled folks in Central City. Because I am regularly challenged by the task of being on time, I was impressed that Oscar was always downstairs on the bench outside his building when we pulled up. Only once did I have to go upstairs to his apartment to knock on his door to let him know that we had arrived. I did not observe it directly myself, but I was told that he had a mutually flirtatious relationship with several women who lived in that building. I do know that Oscar had several lady friends who would invite him to lunch at their homes on Sunday. I know because he would not take us up on our standing offer to go to lunch together after church. So we would drop him off at one of various homes not far from the church or his apartment to have lunch with his lady friend. The one exception was when he insisted on treating us to lunch at the fancy restaurant, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, the original one on Broad Street. We had a wonderful afternoon there and afterwards at our home. He enjoyed the hammock on our screened porch and took a long nap in it. After he awoke, we all had a good laugh trying to resurrect him out of the hammock, which was a challenge because it was slung very low and he was not a nimble young person at the time. For one of his birthdays, a member asked Oscar what he wished he would get as a gift. The church took up a collection and threw him a party during coffee hour. He was absolutely delighted with our gift to him of a large lazy boy chair. Oscar died on March 17, 1993, at the age of 92, a few days after being injured when he was hit by a city-owned vehicle as he was crossing the street. Evelyn and I attended his memorial service, which was held at the Rhodes Funeral Home, an iconic African-American institution in our city. That was a fitting setting for his funeral, because for many years, the Rhodes business sponsored the Gospel Tent at Jazz Fest, which, of course, takes place at the racetrack, where Oscar made his living for many years at his shoe shine stand. Oscar was a black man who survived and transcended the demoralizing injustices and indignities of the Jim Crow era throughout the South, including New Orleans. I know he felt at home in our congregation, which as early as that time had an almost unique reputation in the city for engaging in social justice causes. For example, our church supported, with both funds and direct participation, various desegregation efforts and civil rights cases. Still, I regret to say that Oscar no doubt also experienced some racist discrimination by then members of this congregation in the 50s, 60s, and perhaps beyond. During the period of our friendship, Oscar was an active, independent, retired person who lived a simple life with obvious satisfaction and engagement in the community. He had no spouse or children, but he certainly was loved and appreciated by his circle of friends. One of them was FUNO member Steve Sullivan, who was a lawyer. Oscar enjoyed talking to his son, Stevie, when Steve drove Oscar places that Oscar needed to go to. One day, Oscar asked Steve to write up a will for him. A few months after his death, it was reported that in his will, Oscar had left several $1,000s. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was $10,000 to our church. 40. How much? 40. Wow. Well, thank you for other old folks in the congregation like me who have that historical memory. To be used for the benefit of the children of First Church. The religious exploration classroom wing in our former building on Claiborne Avenue was dedicated in memory of Oscar's generosity and his kindness over the years of his membership in and regular attendance at our church. And a beautiful portrait of Oscar, a reproduction of which is on the little coloring that we have for the children, which some of you may have picked up. That portrait was painted by another gentle, hardworking, and long-standing member of our congregation, Charles Foster. When we find our next church home, Oscar's portrait will again grace a wall space there to demonstrate our appreciation and affection for him. Thank you.
Thanks, Henry. I feel like I know Oscar a little bit better now. Who here can imagine or knows their grandparents or knew their grandparents? Mm-hmm. Who here can imagine or got to meet their great-grandparents? Who here can imagine their great-great-grandparents, what their life was like, what their day-to-day might have looked like? Who here can imagine that? And then who here can imagine like one more generation? The great-great-great-grandparents. Okay, now think about the most precious physical thing you own. Do you know or can imagine who, do you have that, something? Who here can imagine or knows who's going to receive that object when you pass? Who here can imagine the person that person's gonna give it to? Can you imagine that person? Can you imagine who that person's gonna give it to, what their life might be like? Okay, so today we're talking about people that are gonna come after we are gone. Talking about descendants. We're gonna do, so maybe we can't imagine them now, but we'll get there, I think, by the end of our time together this morning. But for now, we're just gonna do a little dance on behalf of. So everyone here have something that they can dance with. A hand, an arm, a head, a nose. Do you have a nose to dance with? Maybe your eyebrows. So in a moment, Dwight's gonna play a tune. We're gonna begin our hand dance. I'm gonna add, my little hand dance is gonna be a poem, I'm cheating already, that was gifted to us by Michael. And we'll let that lead us into this moment this morning about who will inherit this world. Okay. Begin as you feel inspired with your hand or your nose, small or large movements on behalf of those folks, those peoples. The Snow Fairy by Claude McKay. Throughout the afternoon, I watched them there. Snow fairies falling from the sky, whirling fantastic in the misty air, contending fierce for space supremacy. And they flew down a mightier force at night. And though in heaven there was revolt and riot, and they, frail things, had taken panic flight, down to the calm earth, seeking peace and quiet. I went to bed and rose at early dawn to see them huddled together in a heap, each merged in the other upon the lawn, worn out by the sharp struggle, fast asleep. The sun shone brightly on them half of the day. By night, they stealthily had stolen away. And then, suddenly, my thoughts then turned to you, who came to me upon a winter's night, when snow sprites round my attic window flew, your hair disheveled, eyes aglow with light. My heart, like the weather when you came, the wanton winds were blowing loud and long. But you, with joy and passion all aflame, you danced and sang a lilting summer song. I made room for you in my little bed, took covers from the closet fresh and warm, a downful pillow for your scented head, and lay down with you resting in my arm. You went with dawn, you left me ere the day, the lonely actor of a dreamy play. Join me now in a moment of silence and prayer and meditation. The children are welcome to stay or go to their own space round the corner. Yes. Yes. The little footsteps. Join me in a moment of prayer. Spirit of life, you are so complex. Spirit of life and love and joy, spirit of sorrow, thank you for your complexity. Thank you for your persistence amongst the crumblings of empire. Thank you for making a way out of no way where we are able to still gather this morning. Spirit of community, we are so grateful that in these times we do not have to go it alone. That we get to come here and feel others around us and build connections that last throughout the week until we are together again. Spirit of resistance, I heard that they say when the oppression gets heavier, the parties get better. Spirit, when does that part happen? And is it true that church also gets better? Spirit of love, remind us to reach out. Spirit of love, remind us to be grateful, even when it's the last thing we want to do. Remind us to celebrate our joys in community. Spirit of love and hope, remind us of our imagination, of the imagination of the people who came before us, and of our imagination for the people that will come after us. Spirit of silence, be present with us now and as we go through our week, so that we may find solace and hope and joy and courage and bravery, all in you. May it be so. And join me in a moment of silence.
Today's reading is a poem called Ghost by Kiki Petrosino. Some ghosts are my mother's, neither angry nor kind, their hair blooming from silk kerchiefs, not queens, but ghosts, who hum down the hall on their curved fine, sad as seahorses. Not all ghosts are mothers. I've counted them as I walk the beach. Some are herons wearing the moonrise like lace, not lonely, but ghostly. They stalk the low tide pools, flexing their brassy beaks, their eyes. But that isn't all. Some of my ghosts are planets, not bright, not young, spiraling deep in the dusk of my body as saucers or moons, pleased with their belts of colored dust and hailing no others.
I was wondering where the gaggle of young people were at, and then I realized it was Crew de Vue last night. So they are probably having church in other spaces. Amen. Audre Lorde, in her text Zami, writes, I am a reflection of my mother's secret poetry, as well as of her hidden angers. Well, if this is true, then the people in the future will be a result of our secret poems and our hidden angers, unless we do something different. We are ancestors in training. You ever thought about that? The things that we do, the muscles that we are building, are gonna be what somebody uses to call our names out one day. Someone will do a dance on behalf of us. White supremacy culture understands traditions, like white traditions are a thing, mostly to enclose power and wealth. But there's a weird way that white supremacy culture is also ahistorical at the same time. Does that make sense? Like, there are things that white supremacy reproduces and also has sort of shields that somehow don't let actual history, actual stories of resistance or facts infiltrate it. And so as I was putting my thoughts together for this morning, I wanted to have a robust amount of voices, and it limited me because of the way that some of our ancestors didn't have this sort of imagination of time. And some groups of people have really honed in on what that imagination of time looks like. This trans writer and somatic coach, Kai Chang Tom, writes, "Those who have survived the unthinkable are also those who know how to create a better world, because it's ended for us before." So I'm anchoring my wisdom in these times in the wisdom of people whose worlds has ended before, time and time again. Indigenous folks in the Americas have this concept of 7 generations, that everything that they do, every action they consider, is measured in the scope of how it heals and affects people 7 generations each way, forward and backwards. Okay, Sara, but we're tired. I just imagine that maybe some of us are tired. Maybe I'm making it up. We are weary. I would even say, do you hear it in my voice this morning? I've been resting, and it still sounds like a little vocal fry, I think they call it. But it's not letting up anytime soon. This week will likely be closer to last week than it was a year ago. I've been working on my millennial tendencies to do things that I don't want to do. Part of the curse of being a millennial is, we just get a lot of opportunities. If we don't want to do something, we just don't do it. And honestly, I have a 17-year-old, and I dare say they have dug in themselves into that mindset even deeper. And there's really awesome things about that. It means that we're really in tune with what we're feeling and what we're thinking and what feels right in the moment. But there are some ways that I have found for me that it's gotten in my way when I can't just rally myself to do something like taxes or like paying the energy bill when I don't feel like doing it. So I've been working on that to find some grit and employing some tools to get me back on the saddle. Now, for me, it shows up, I don't want doing those, mundane life things, but I imagine if we haven't experienced this yet, that there will be a moment where we're weary and tired of the work of liberation, and we need to rally and get ourselves back on the saddle. There are a couple things that I found in that vein that help me rally and show up for one more march or one more meeting or make one more phone call or invite one more person to this thing. And one of them is this essay by Bernice Johnson Reagan, Coalition Politics. Wow. If I had the time, I would read the whole thing aloud for you right now, but I'll spare you. But it's a great essay. What I love about it is that it's not an essay that is going to confirm what I'm already doing. It's going to push me. It's going to put things into perspective about what is our work in this moment. When I feel like I just want to be in my little cocoon of people that love me and support me, this essay pushes me to go outside and work with people that are different than me, that may not agree with me. There's a lot of gems. But on the topic of vivifying our descendants, she writes this: if you analyze the situation properly, you know that there may be a few things you can do in your personal, individual interests so that you can experience and enjoy the change. But most of the things that you do, if you do them right, are for the people who live long after you are long forgotten. That will only happen if you give it away. Whatever it is that you know, give it away. And don't give it away only on the horizontal. Don't give it away like that, because they're gonna die when you die, give or take a few days. Give it away that way, that way. And what I'm talking about is being very concerned that the world you live in, the condition you find yourself in, and be able to do the kind of analysis that says that what you believe in is worthwhile for human beings in general and in the future, and do everything you can to throw yourself into the next century, she writes, and make people contend with your baggage, whatever it is. The only way you can take yourself seriously is if you can throw yourself into the next period, beyond your little meager human body mouth talking all the time. Yeah. So I read that and I'm reminded of a different timeline, something that operates with much more importance than my whimsical nonchalantness about the things that I don't feel like doing. And what this timeline means for folks 3 generations from now, or even in 3. So I return to that essay to think about the legacy that the writer, Bernice Johnson Reagan, has left to us and what she's imploring us to do now. She says, throw yourselves into the next century. But that's a long essay. It's about 12 pages, very dense in the way that they were doing deep, dense movement work in the 70s and 80s and 60s. And it's not something that you can just read every day. So I also find mantras or short, quippy affirmations that help me to ground. I remember them and think, all right, that's it, back to the task. But I don't have time to read a 12-page essay. But one of the short and quippy things that I repeat to myself over and over again, and it feels like a North Star, is this little short bit by Mary Hooks. I think about Mary often. She was the executive director, co-director of Southerners on New Ground, whose goal, whose mission is queer liberation in our lifetime. But in 2016, in a similar time as this, she wrote The Mandate. And The Mandate is, when she wrote it, was specifically for Black people, but I think there's something for everyone here, so I'm gonna share it with you all. And it's just 3 very powerful lines. The mandate is to avenge the suffering of our ancestors, earn the respect of future generations, and be willing to be transformed in service of the work. So between these two, between the mandate, between the essay, usually on a day when I'm feeling maybe some Glorilla, who's a rapper of the young people, between those 3, I am feeling pumped up and ready to go and up to the task. I hope that in your weeks, in your days, you're finding those anchors that help you remember that it's not about us, as painful, as excruciating as that may be. That sometimes the work we're doing is on behalf of Emil's, my 4-year-old, great-grandchildren. The person that's gonna inherit, that they inherited that most precious thing that you've sought to leave them. And sometimes I need to go back to the task of remembering who those people are that we're talking about, that we're building for. So I want to lead us through a guided meditation. This is borrowed from the Sacred Reckonings curriculum that I'm working on about reparations, and feels like reparations sometimes exists within this timeline that is both forward and backward and circular and less linear. But in terms of doing reparative work, I think about doing that on behalf of a solid foundation for the people that are going to be building after me. So I'm going to invite you to soften your gaze or close your eyes. Ground yourself in whatever way feels meaningful and accessible to you. Feel where your body has landed in the chair. Feel it support you as you begin to slow your breath. Feel the solidarity of the ground under your feet. Begin to invite your breath into your body. Inhale and send your breath to any part of your body that's tense or anxious or experiencing pain. Not to fix, just as a witness. Breathe in and out. Now begin to picture your descendants. These descendants are not just your children and their children. We are all related to each other. Picture all of the people who will inherit the world you leave. They're not even just humans, because we are all related to each other. Picture all of the animals who will inherit the world when you leave. Picture all the plants and the trees. Your descendants sometimes will include the children of those who are today's villains, because we are all related to each other. Picture the people who are obstacles to your work today, and then picture their children and the grandchildren that they raise. And let your descendants, one or a few or all of them, come gently into focus as you move toward them. What do they look like? What details do you see? Where are they? What do they look like in their surroundings? Are they in the city, in a forest, at a body of water? What colors do you see? What textures? Can you smell their world? Can you feel whether the air is warm or cool, dry or humid? Can you see what color the sky is? Move toward your descendants. What world do you want to pass on to them? What legacy will you leave? Move closer. These folks who are moving closer to you, they lean toward you. What do they say to you? Perhaps they speak in words, or an image, or a song. What message do they ask you to carry? What do they want you to take with you when you return from your visit? Feel their message flood you as you accept their gift. It's time to come back. Begin to bring your attention back to the present. Feel your chest rise as you inhale. Feel your belly fall as you exhale. Feel the ground underneath your feet. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Does anyone want to share the message from their descendants that came to them? It's okay if not. Take care of your Mother Earth. Any other messages that feel appropriate to share? We're all with you. One more, maybe? Love. When I do this exercise, notably, none of them are ever telling me to be content or to be someone else's doormat or to be apathetic or nice. They sound more like this excerpt from M. Jade Kaiser's poem. They write, not nice, but still tender. Tender like in touch with pain, one's own, others, ours, everyone's, but particularly and differently. Tender like knowing from experience. Tender like there's too much at stake not to be. Tender like fiercely fighting for the soft parts of us trying to make it. The possibilities of right relationships, the justice that changes everything, roots deep. Tender like chosen family. Tender like abolition. Tender like the love and accountability. Tender like you're not alone. Tender like laughter. Tender like death in its right time. Tender like spring. Tender like all the earth asking us to please come home. May it be so. Amen and Ashe.
Generosity is a personal commitment. We can now practice our act of giving by either placing your offering in the collection plate or by using the information in your order of service to give electronically. Flaming Chalice Choir. If you read the order, the offertory acknowledgement in our order of service. This gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world. Thank you. We now have a spotlight announcement and a couple more after that.
Hi, everybody. As you may have read in the digest, we have an opportunity next Sunday to have a big Mardi Gras party out front, where the service starts at 10. Femme Fatale starts rolling down on the corner at 11, and we have the exclusive use of the circle drive, which will be fenced off. We will have someone cooking in the kitchen and selling plate lunches. We'll have other things available to eat and drink. No charge. For the rest of the Mardi Gras season, the food we'll charge for, but not the access. The rest of the season, Rain's going to be charging people to stay in their space, and you can do that too if you want. But I need to get a count on how many people are interested. We urge you to bring friends, hopefully bring them to church to hear Laura Miller's sermon, and then stay. You'll get a wristband. You can go out closer to the parade once it starts, but you can bring your chairs, your ice chests, and just leave them out in the driveway because it'll be fenced off. And we want to have a party. But we need to know how many people are interested in coming to our party. So if you think you're going to be there, raise your hand, please. All right, that's a good start. And if you come up and see me during coffee hour, tell me how many friends you're going to bring, and then whether you can possibly help a little bit, manning the gate or cleaning up. So appreciate that, and see you next Sunday. Oh, and I advise you park on the other side of St. Charles so you're not in the box. Otherwise, you got to get in by 9 o'clock.
So service starts at 10 o'clock next weekend. Also, we have a fundraiser today, the King Cake fundraiser. Beverly brought a cake. I brought one from Nona Randazzo's. Please give some cash to me.
Margot brought a cake.
Or whomever. What's that?
Margot brought a cake.
Oh, Margot brought a cake. Thank you, Margot. Please donate some money, and it goes to Crew of Kids for Change for an environmental justice organization we're still voting on. The kids will vote on. But please have some king cake afterwards. All right, so we'll do our chalice extinguishing. Please rise in body or spirit, and we could read the words in our order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. If you'd please remain standing, and we'll sing Blue Boat Home. It's 1064 in the teal hymnal.
Far away from the rolling ocean, When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go into utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace, seeking justice. I mean go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace. Turn and greet your neighbor.